Okay, we got 1 minute now.
Like a little countdown for New
We
Year.
are counting down. Allie, are most people in?
Yes, looks like we have about 46 participants right now.
Yeah, keep going. All right. Hello, everybody. I'm Chris Howden. I'm the Director of Women and Their Work, and I'm so happy that we're all here today to celebrate such a fantastic show. I want to introduce Moya McIntyre, who is the curator of this show, of the Femme Abstract. She's been a curator and an artist for years. She co-runs the Dimension Gallery and Sculpture Park, and she has also done a number of other shows. The Femme Abstract, this is the second iteration. The first one opened in 2018 to great acclaim, and she's continuing her great acclaim making ways with this second show. There's 48 artists, and it is so ambitious, and for so many reasons, it's such a triumph. So I'm really happy that she can share with us. She's going to walk us through with her phone, and our thought was that you could either type in your chat if you have questions, or save them till the end when she can, and we can talk amongst ourselves, our many selves, about questions or comments or ideas we might have. So this show opened auspiciously on New Year's Eve. And we have late breaking news. Moya is going to let us know that, in fact, the show is going to be extended. So we have more opportunities to see it in person. So let me just turn it over to Moya. Take it away. Welcome. Welcome to you and to everyone that's here.
Thank you. Hi, everybody. Thank you so much, Chris and the team at Women in Their Work, for inviting me to do this Zoom call. I'm honored. I love Women in Their Work and everything that you guys do and your mission. So I'm happy to play a part and say hello to the people that follow you guys. And I'm super proud and happy of this about the show. Like Chris mentioned, this is the second version of it. And people have asked me, why am I doing the show? What is it about? And basically, my goal is to do a big group show once a year. And I've curated a group of female abstract artists because I am a female abstract artist.
Turbo time.
Thank you.
I want to use my resources and my expertise in planning events and curatorial promote female artists, which is why I absolutely love the work of Women in Their Work. So my goal is to have this be an annual show, and this year was very problematic with COVID. I was going to open the show in September, and this is linked to a City of Austin core grant. The city was telling me, you don't have to do anything because we can't do public events right now. You should do a virtual event. And honestly, to be quite honest, I could not get motivated to do a virtual event. I personally feel like art needs to be seen with your eyes, ideally not on a computer screen, in person, and ideally with other people. I feel like it's a cultural experience. Art reflects the culture, and then art is experienced by the culture, and then it influences us and understanding of the world. So I really wanted to do something in person. I put together a New Year's Eve show that opened on New Year's Eve, and then it's been open through January and through February. And I'll talk about how you can see it if you decide you want to come in person. But for now, the goal of today is to show it to you online so that you can see what the show's about and have a little experience of it from home. So, Chris, shall I just start walking around and showing everybody the art?
Yes.
Okay, so I'm going to flip my camera so that you guys can see what I'm seeing. And I'm going to start at the very beginning of the show. I'm going to give you like a little bit of a wide range look at this first floor space, and then I'm going to hone specific pieces. And so what's interesting about this show is the art and the artists, obviously, but also the space. And the space is the container, obviously, with all galleries and works. So this is a 20,000 square foot office space on Springdale Road that is unexpectedly empty. It's another casualty of COVID. It was a big corporation that went out of business during COVID. And I have close connections with the property owner and was able to secure the space for an art show as like a pop-up exhibit. So this is not going to be a permanent gallery, but it is for purposes of the show, a gallery for the next, for a couple of months as artists get to benefit sometimes when we have open spaces in Austin. So anyways, you walk through the front door and you're greeted with this beautiful piece by Andrea De Leon, who's one of my favorite sculptors in town. I'm going to talk about her work as we go upstairs. And this beautiful lit piece by Hallie Ray Ward. She's got a few of these type of pieces in the show, which are really interesting. I'm going to talk more in detail about this piece. As you can see, there's a window backdrop to it. This is Dawn Okoro, who's a local painter, and she recently, she does some sculptural works having to do with fashion and Afrocentric fashion. She's of Nigerian descent, and this piece in particular, these are 5 mannequin heads with these kind of jewels hanging from them, stones hanging from them. She does a lot of gold leaf, as you can see. And this piece is called The Burden of Respectability. And what it's about is, as a Black person and Black artist, she's kind of reflecting on like these weights, is kind of weighing the head down, the weight of representing all Black people and what you do when you're a Black person, and what that feels like to have that extra kind of responsibility and burden of respectability. So I just really love her work. She's mostly a painter. I'm going to show you one of her paintings in just a second. So these greet you as you walk in the front door, and then you turn to the main space. And this is the piece that I chose to put kind of front and center, which is called Mother by Elizabeth Chapin. And I just I've known Elizabeth as a friend and an artist for many, many years, probably 15 years. And I just love her work. Her paintings are very colorful and vibrant. And this is her, one of her first kind of forays into 3-dimensional work. So this is a canvas piece. It's 3-dimensional and with this gorgeous fringe hanging from it. And this has to do with motherhood, the earth, the grounding kind of force of femininity. A lot of people ask me in the show, is the show about being a woman? It's not. It's not about being a woman. It's not about feminine issues, but obviously femininity and motherhood comes out in the work because it's all, it's a lot of women being shown. But the show is not about being a woman, but it is about, it's like a snapshot of the feminine experience or female identifying people, artists in Austin at this moment. So it's meant to be like a current kind of take on the artist community. So walking over to this corner, we have another piece by Hallie Ray Ward that's kind of talking to that front piece with these lit sculptures. And you look down in this mirror, then you can see me, hi, with this mirror base. And behind this ladder is another one of my favorite artists, Elizabeth Decker. So she does these really interesting abstract faces, which I'm going to show you some more works of hers in a minute. This is Court Laree. She's a prolific painter in Austin, focusing a lot on these kind of abstract works with lots of shapes and textures in her painting. And she's a very well-collected artist here in town, super successful and great person to follow if you're interested in abstract works. And then this piece is particularly interesting to me because this is an installation that was created specifically for the Femme Abstract. So this is Darcy Book, and her signature style is these kind of like psychedelic looking patterns with paint. She does lots of 3-dimensional paint sculptures. And this piece is gold leaf painted onto the back wall with these kind of obelisks leaning onto the wall. And you can see the glowing red on the gold leaf. That isn't the function of any lights glowing. That's actually really bright red paint painted on the back of the pieces, and the red is reflecting off of the gold leaf. And her take on this piece is about hopes, dreams, fears that we're holding inside of us, and this paint kind of represents them coming out into view. So this is a larger work, and she'll actually be selling pieces of the gold leaf. When we deinstall, she's going to tear the gold leaf off the wall and create little tabletop sculptures with them. So if any of you really like this piece and you come to the show, just know that that's an option for people that want to take home a bit of it with them when the show closes. So this work I just find really interesting. So now I'm going to show you these little offices, which are, when I first curated the show, these little offices to me felt like a challenge, because I thought, well, how am I going to make this interesting? All these weird little rooms. And what I did was I just curated like mini galleries in each office. And so a lot of people have said that the show kind of feels like an art fair, because you walk into each little room and there's a little mix of several artists with the works all talking to each other. This is another work by Darcy Book, who did the installation that we just looked at. And then these textile works I find really interesting by Allie Jackson. This is one of her pieces. And then these lips in the back wall are also, you can see if you get a little close-up look of textiles. So this is the first little kind of installation. Chris, feel free to chime in if I'm going too fast or too slow.
Moya,
Yeah.
I just wanted to remind everybody that they could click on speaker view. So you can either see all of us in little postage stamps, or you can see you bigger, what you're showing bigger. So maybe everybody else knew to do that, but just in case you didn't, click on the speaker view and you'll be able to see better. That's it.
Gotcha. Okay, cool. This piece here is a hanging fabric piece by Rocky Jane. She does mostly paintings, and these images here show up in a lot of her paintings. She's of Indian descent, so a lot of her works kind of play on these colors and imagery. And this was one of her newest experiments as part of the crit group with the contemporary, in the three-dimensional world. So now we're going in here, another one of our little mini galleries with some paintings. This is one of my favorite sculptors, Marion Levy. She does really interesting shapes and forms. Another piece by Court Laree, who we mentioned out in the front. And this is Darcy Book as well. This is one of her big wall hanging pieces. And then this is an interesting piece right outside this little mini gallery by Stephanie Gonzalez. She's the one artist who is not from Austin. So all these 48 artists are from Austin except Stephanie. She is from Houston. And I got to know her from the last Femme Abstract, and I just love her work. So I invited her back to the show. This piece here is a typical piece from Donna Coro, the artist with the mannequin heads in the front. She does a lot of painting with these really cool abstracted gold leaf swaths in front of her subject matter. This piece, which might be a little loud for the camera, is actually one of the few video pieces done by Hannah Chu. She's a sound artist. So that's video and sound in that room. And then going into this little room, again, we have more of Marianne Levy. And then we have several pieces in the show scattered throughout of Mars Woodhill, who does the signature style as well of these paint pieces. And that's another Stephanie Gonzalez, the Houston artist that I really like. And so honestly, a lot of people have asked me why I put these works together, how I chose what I chose, why I curated the show. And and I don't mean to be overly simplistic, but honestly, I just curate what I like. I just really like all of these artists. I love all this work. I love abstract work, colorful work, work that tells a story. And this pyramid piece is actually another one of Darcy Book's that is actually destined to be installed in the Dimension Sculpture Park after this show closes. So we're excited to have her work permanently displayed across the street. Let me show you one more of these little rooms. This is, the lights turn on as we walk in on some of these rooms. So this is Alejandra Amway, who does these amazing sculptures with body parts in odd places and deformed body parts. This sculpture she decided to hang upside down for this particular show with these really interesting clay needles. And again, more Mars Woodhill. Now, this work is best to look at closely because it's lace. It's like a sort of barrier. It looks orange, obviously, but this is by Erin Cunningham. She does a lot of casting and a lot of lace integrated into her sculptures. And this piece right next to it is actually like a body part that is cast with lace inside the piece. So I just love how she takes really hard, mostly kind of typically masculine objects or materials and turns them into really beautiful works. Next door to her is Valerie Fowler, who I think a lot of you guys know. She's really well known in Austin. She does these really interesting, again, kind of psychedelic paintings. And next to that big painting is this trifold painting that stands on its own that's really beautiful. And these are scenes near her house and nature that she has captured. Okay, so let's go this way. Here's another light piece by Hallie Ray Ward. This is another sculptural piece by Andrea De Leon that I just love. She does a lot of metal sculpture and glass blowing. She makes knives. She does all kinds of work with metal. And what's so neat about this piece is the kind of curved, delicate glass popping out of this like really hard steel. I just like how the two materials work with each other. This piece is one of the most striking of the exhibit based on its scale. This is Hollis Hammond's. And Hollis, this is her signature style. She does a lot of installations with found objects, and a lot of times she paints them all black. And that has a bit to do with a fire that she experienced as a 15-year-old. Her home burned down, and so a lot of these black pieces are kind of related to that experience. But this particular piece, which you can hear in the background, some words, it's a sound piece mixed with sculpture. This has to do with environmental degradation and the earth and the damage that humans have done to it. So the piece that's being recited in the background is a colleague in front of her, Sasha West, some poetry that's being played as part of the piece. So there's obviously a visual element and a sound element. Okay, so now we walk upstairs. This is a really large scale piece of Elizabeth Decker that's in the kind of walkway as you walk upstairs. When we go upstairs, I'm going to start with kind of a panoramic view of what's happening upstairs, and then we'll kind of hone in on some of the works together. So again, there are over 200 pieces in the show. So there's a lot of work to look at. So if any of you can come by in person, I definitely recommend a visit because there's a lot to see. So this first little mini gallery features some two-dimensional work. This is Trish Siegel, who I love. You can't really see this in person, but these works are very dimensional. This is Marianne Levy, Rebecca Bennett. And this is one of my favorite artists, V. No. And Rachel Kaliski's glass pieces. So that's the first little mini room. Let me show you a few more, and then we'll open up for questions soon. So Alejandra Amway that we saw downstairs with the upside down bust. This is a larger installation of her needles. And when she did this work, she installed it like this with these spaces in between. The spaces have to do with kind of all the space that we have in between our days with this COVID pandemic and being stuck, feeling stuck. These are some of her sculptural works right next to her installation on the wall. Over here is more of Court Lurie, Marianne Levy. And then let's go this way. Okay, so when we go to the main space, you see a lot of tabletop sculptures on these little pony walls. This is Valerie Chansonnet and Amy Schofield with these kind of uncomfortable spikes and pieces of glass in high heels. We can all kind of ascertain the meaning of the discomfort of female fashion. And then this is a really neat piece from Elizabeth Chapin. These pieces of neon actually represent lace. So she grew up in a kind of quintessentially Southern family in Mississippi, and there was lace all over her house. And she talks about how the lace was beautiful, but it actually covers up things. So this piece is about your true self coming out from behind the lace. And this figure is her daughter's best friend who transitioned gender. So it was about her becoming her true self and kind of taking the veil away. And then the artist's process of that kind of reflection in her own life. So we go this way and we have more small scale sculptures of paint by Darcy Book. And on this back wall, we have Sarah Luna, who I believe is a board member at Women in Their Work. She's very involved with the work that you guys do, and she's also an artist. And these are actually photographs of objects. And they all have interesting names like that have to do with calm and peace and finding your center and reconnecting to yourself and remembering your true self. So these have like a deeper meaning to her, and you can kind of feel it when you look at the works. This hanging rope piece is from Amy Schofield as well. She has a lot of different styles, but her work is always three-dimensional and focuses on kind of using found objects and just objects of life and turning them into sculptures. This piece is really interesting to me. This is Magdalena Jarkovic. She's a good friend, and she's actually a dancer and a sculptor. And a lot of her work focuses on the human body and distortion of the body and the different shapes and sizes of the body. And then coming into this little mini gallery is another one of my favorite artists. Actually, I have 48 favorite artists. So I have a lot, but this is Alyssa Taylor Went. And this show's really kind of neat for me because I actually integrated more photography than I did last time, because the concept of what is abstract art is, it's obviously a spectrum. So a lot of people think of abstract art as, just a bunch of shapes, but photography can be abstract as well. So this is Alyssa's mother, and we're going to see her in another new work in just a second. And these are images from actually a 3-part video that Alyssa did in Croatia called Haint. So let's go out this way. As we walk by these sculptures, these are April Garcia. She does a lot of really cool fabric, textile, tabletop works that have a lot of bright colors. And then here's Jennifer Hill. She does a lot of ceramic sculpture. And in the middle of this room is another piece by Magdalena Jarkovic, the dancer. And she's starting to work with wire. She said in her artist statement that she's doing this material because she has 2 little kids at home. So it's actually a work that you can do with kids when you're hanging out with your children, which is nice as an artist to be able to actually work and still be a mom and be busy and whatnot. This is Stella Alessi, who's one of my favorite artists in town. This is her latest body of work with these really interesting shapes. And then this work is new from Lori Frick, and it's pretty, I don't know if you can tell from the phone, but it's a huge work. It's all of these glass pieces, and Lori calls herself a data analyst type artist. So all of these glass pieces represent all the things that we do during the day, during the pandemic. She has a little list here: pet care, travel by car, computer. And then the spaces in between the art is all the space that we have during the pandemic, stuck at home and whatnot. And so this one actually, although it doesn't look like it talks to the Alejandra Amway piece with the needles, it actually is kind of a similar concept. And then here's another one of our little mini galleries with several abstract works on the walls, 2-dimensional works. These are 3-dimensional fans by Darcy Book as well, who's obviously a very prolific artist. You're seeing her a lot in the show. And then here's another one of our little mini galleries. This is Julie Peles with these really neat kind of strings integrated into this paper piece. This is Carol Stanley Aaron, Lauren McPhail, and more of Trish Siegel. All right, we have 2 more little mini galleries. Again, here's Mars Woodhill, Rachel Kaliski's Glassworks. And here's another photographic piece, new work by Alyssa Taylor Wint. This is also her mother. We saw her back there in the other photographic works with this shroud, and this is her newest direction. And this is Shakti Sarkin, which you can see there's this really interesting wire sculpture with these colorful pieces, and more of Rebecca Bennett. All right, let's go here. This room is really interesting. This is Rebecca Bennett on this side wall, but then as you turn this way, you see this huge installation of 79 cyanotypes, which are just mind-blowing. This is one of my favorite works. I actually bought one of these to take home. And this is a really cool piece for people that really want to collect art, but you know, are on a lower budget, because these pieces are very affordably priced and they're gorgeous, one-of-a-kind pieces. They're just beautiful. And here's another Rachel Kaliski. Rachel, I can see you on the Zoom call. Look, we sold this piece. Let me show it to you from the outside. I just love that piece, and it talks really well with those blue cyanotypes and Rebecca Bennett's work. This piece is really interesting to me. This is Sarah Bork, again, another photographic piece. This is called Girls Gotta Eat. And her work, her latest body of work is documenting and photographing the drag queen community. And so I love that this piece was part of the show as we like explore what is female and what is feminine. I just love this like gender bending piece. This is Suzanne Wyss. It's called In the Absence of Touch. And again, it has to do with the pandemic and how we can't touch each other right now. And here's one more little mini gallery. This is NJ Weaver, more V, No, Janet Brooks, and more Darcy, and our Darcy Book with the fans. And then here's a little video piece by Amy Schofield. Can't quite see it that great on the phone, but. So that's a really quick look at everything. And obviously I was going, kind of fast because I feel like what's more useful sometimes is kind of questions and answers. So Chris, do you want to start to open it up?
Yes, that is remarkable. 200 works. Really something. Well, I think we muted everyone, but we'll unmute everyone to ask questions. I guess one of the things that we could maybe start out with, you mentioned you are showing what you like, and we can see there's quite a range. Is there a way you can distill down in just a few adjectives about what it is that attracts you most to an artist's work? Or what is it that would catch your eye to separate, and why you would choose this particular work from one artist and not that?
That's a good question. I think that I think it's important to me, honestly, when I do these shows, I'm doing what I think is culturally relevant in the art world. I want to share with people what's going on, take what's in people's studios and bring it out to show, right? That's what all curators and galleries are doing. But I want to show like the creativity of the community, the artist community. And I also want to show things that I think that people will buy. Not about that we have to sell everything and the show is all about sales, but I want to show things that I would want in my house. I would want to show things that I would want to see every day. So while I like things to be edgy and interesting and colorful and weird, I do still want to pick things that I think can connect with a wide variety of people and that are pleasing and beautiful and really invoke thought and happiness and inspiration and reflection by the viewer. So I don't know if that answers your question, but I'm trying to do something that, like I said, is a snapshot of the artist community, but is also something that is like really as a cohesive body of work, is something that speaks to a wide range of people and makes people really, is like a feast for the eyes.
You very much succeeded.
Thank you.
What, do we have questions? Please feel free. Let's see, people haven't typed it in. What about some themes that you noticed that emerged? Because often it's like going to an art fair, one of the intriguing things is how many themes emerge, which was totally random, but you have curated this. So what themes pop out to you, or do you think we could?
Yeah, there's some really obvious ones that have to do with the female experience. Of course, like I said, it's a group of all women. So you see themes of the body, or body image, the female form having to fit inside things that are uncomfortable, which is what we've all had to experience at one time or another in our lives as females, whether we do it every day or just wear high heels, at a special occasion. But yeah, so those kind of quintessential themes show up in the show a lot. Also, this particular show, there are lots of works that have to do with the pandemic and what it feels like to be stuck at home and to be isolated from your community. There are some themes popping up about motherhood and how to be a good mother and take care of your children and also express yourself and have your own identity and your own life ambitions. So that's an overarching thing in my life. I have 4 children. So that's something that when I see a work that speaks to that, it kind of lights something inside of me. And then of course we have some of the pieces that have to do with like the planet and environmental degradation, which I think is not, obviously it's not a female issue, it's a human issue, but there is something to be said for the female energy being more kind of a protective, like nurturing, thoughtful kind of energy on the planet, and not that females care more about it than males, but we see that showing up in the show.
I don't know that you mentioned the specific dates that it will be extended. Can you share that with us all?
Definitely. So when I first opened the show, the plan was for it to be up for the whole month of January, and it was so well received. We got tons of press. If any of you guys want to read more about the show, I definitely recommend just getting online, Google Femme Abstract. There are several really great, well-written articles about the show and about the artists and about the overall kind of themes that the writers distilled even better than I can as the curator. So because it was so well received and so many people want to see it, and because it opened during a pandemic when there's been so much concern about leaving the house and whatnot, we decided to go ahead and extend it for the month of February. So it'll be open every Saturday in February from 12 to 5. I highly recommend a visit, even if you're concerned about COVID. We do strict enforcement of face masks. We have hand sanitizing stations at the front door. You don't have to touch anything. And there's signage everywhere, letting people know that only one person at a time in the mini galleries, so that you don't ever have to get within 6 feet of somebody. So it's a very safe, it's safer than going to the grocery store. It's a very safe way to view art. The show will end with a closing party and performance on February 27th, which is the last Saturday in February. We'll have a dance performance by Jennifer Sherburne and the cast of Elsewhere, which, if any of you guys know Jennifer Sherburne's work, she's one of the most fabulous modern dance choreographers in Austin. And she's putting together a site-specific piece that will happen inside the show. So dancers will be dancing and interacting with the art in little vignettes all around the show. So that's from 5 to 6, dance performance, party from 6 to 9 on February 27th. The party will be outside, face masks, we'll have some drinks. And so if you'd like to celebrate with us, please come by on February 27th. Or if you'd like to just see the art and not be around other people, then come by on a Saturday and you can see the art in person.
Well, I have to ask you an in the weeds question, a behind the scenes question. Could you talk to us how many people installed this show, and how long did it take you? It's a triumph in and of itself.
Yes.
So tell us about it.
I will tell you guys, and I'm really glad that you asked that question, because basically it was installed by a crew of 2 guys, one of which is my husband, Colin McIntyre. You should know him. He's a local sculptor, and he even, he doesn't get all the press and the hype when it comes to these shows, because it's all about the females and the ladies involved in their art. But literally, this show would not be possible without him. He did all of the heavy lifting, and he had one assistant. So a crew of 2, led by Colin, installed this show, and they did it in about 5 days. And we just worked around the clock. I was placing everything, moving everything around, and kind of curating and setting things up. And the guys were following me right after, hammering nails in the wall and screws and hanging things. And a handful of the artists installed their own works, like Hollis's large towers. She did that herself. And some of the big works were installed by artists, but really Colin McIntyre, my rock star husband, did most of the work. So I had to thank him.
Because I think there's curating the show, picking the work, but installing the work is of huge importance, if not equal importance. And the dialogues that you've established are quite telling. So that's quite an accomplishment.
Thank you. I honestly, this time, so this is the second show we've done like this, and this time I had this beautifully finished out office space with this great lighting and, you know, HVAC and everything. So for us, this has been like a godsend, having such a beautiful space and such a large space. When we first did the show 2 years ago, we had this great warehouse in East Austin. And it was one of the kind of relics of the old East Austin industrial past. It was like a 30,000 square foot warehouse, but just metal walls, no HVAC, no bathrooms, just really down and dirty. And there was something really romantic about that, you know, because we were just in this dirty warehouse and turning it into this beautiful gallery. But just to be quite honest, it's much nicer to have
a bathroom
with lighting and bathrooms, and you can adjust the AC. It's magical.
And
So,
parking.
Yeah, we feel really lucky to have this space.
Well, I have to say, as I recall, that show had quite amazing lighting, which I knew you had to bring in. So Colin got off easy, right? He had the lights already there. He didn't have to.
He got off easy when it came to lighting on this one. Yeah, because he hung all like 200 lights, stringed lights and spots and everywhere on the last one. That was a feat, a small feat, but yeah.
Totally amazing. So some people have asked, like, will they have access to the show? And it will be on our website up later today. And so you could pause, right, and check it out. And is there any other, do we have other questions? Is there other last minute comments, Moya, that you would like to?
We have one question about if tickets will be sold for the closing party.
Oh, that's a really good question. So the performance that goes from 5 to 6 on the closing party day of February 27th, the performance has a $25 ticket price. 100% of the proceeds go to pay the dancers. So we're excited to pay talent and to support artists. Then after, from 6 to 9, the party there'll be a $15 ticket price that will include a DJ and an open bar. We're having a ticket price to obviously support the artists, but we're also having a ticket price, honestly, to limit capacity, because we'll have only 50 spots available for the performance and 100 spots available for the outdoor party. So everything will be really limited because we can't have, 500 people show up ready to party right now in the middle of COVID. So if you'd like to come, we definitely recommend buying a ticket because that'll secure your space. We won't be selling tickets at the door.
Where do you buy them? On the Femme Abstract?
Yeah, if you look at my website, which is moyamcintyre.com, there's a little ticket link right on the front page under Femme Abstract. You can also just Google Femme Abstract. It's all over Facebook. The challenge about doing a pop-up show like this is that unlike, Dimension Gallery or Women in Their Work, we don't have an online presence that's just being cultivated every month and every year. It's just a pop-up. So it's a little bit challenging to find information. But if you just Google me, Moya McIntyre, or the Femme Abstract, you'll be able to find the Eventbrite link and you can just sign up for a ticket right on Eventbrite.
It's totally great. Well, this has been such a treat.
Thank you.
And I'm really so pleased that we have another whole month to experience it. And hope to see all of you very soon in person. And I don't know if there was any other comments. Did anyone have any other questions? If not, we'll bid adieu. Thank you so much. One thing, a plug. Next week, Thursday, February 4th at 6 o'clock, we're having Women in the Works hosting Fresh from the Studio. We're going to have interviews with artists talking about their studios. So that's next week. So we're trying to keep things going, and all of us are working at it. And Moya, you've done a really, really powerful show. So thank you so much.
Thank you so much. I do want to say one quick thing in parting is that I did the show because I obviously want to support artists and the arts community. And on a selfish level, I did it for myself too. Like it has given me so much love and inspiration and happiness. 2020 was a really dark and difficult year for many of us. And this show has just really just been a shot in the arm of like what's possible and brighter days ahead. And so I'm grateful for that. And I'm grateful for all the artists who just hopped right in at a moment's notice, and all the people who helped install, and of course, Colin. And I'm just really grateful that we have such a wonderful community in Austin.
It is remarkable what can be done.
Yeah, for sure.
It is. So I think we need to all keep that in mind. So thanks again. Thanks again to everyone for joining us, and we hope to see you soon. Goodbye.